The Memphis Grizzlies have traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 first-round pick swap. Sources tell ESPN. Crazy, crazy stuff. And a little bit of breakdown of the picks that were given. It is the number 16 pick in this year's draft, Phoenix's first-round pick next year, the Magic's unprotected first in 2028 and 2030, and there's 1 pick swap that's slightly protected in 2029. Wow. So crazy first major trade of the 2025 offseason. We'll go to you first, Gio. What are your thoughts? What's going through your mind right now?
I mean, immediately when I saw that, I'm like, that's going to be really good for the Magic. That's the first thing that went through my mind because we all know they needed shooting, and Desmond Bane provides that. And not only can he shoot, I mean, he's also big, brolic guy. Like, he can play some defense, too. Like, he's strong. He's a solid guy, you know? So,
yeah,
it's rare to find a guy that's strong and can shoot. He can do both, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just who Desmond Bane is, at the end of the day. And there's a stat I'm trying to pull up right now.
The T-Rex guy.
If I can find it. Yeah, he basically does have the he basically does have the T-Rex arms. Well, I'm looking for the stat, Antoine. What are your thoughts on this trade?
Oh, wow. I think this crosses off the Magic that they are not going to get another point guard because clearly they're sold on, I guess, Suggs and Anthony Black, and Bane's going to step into that 2 spot with Suggs or Black at the starting point guard. And their lineup's fully filled now with, their guys. Great trade for Memphis, getting those picks back. Really, notable, even almost an outside lottery pick this year's draft as well. They move on from one of their key players, but it's not Ja, it's not Triple J.
Right.
They get back KCP, who hopefully could rejuvenate his career there. Just signed that contract in Orlando last year. And then get Cole Anthony, a nice little backup point guard to be off the bench for them.
Yeah.
And add depth, regardless.
Wait, what picks did they get? Can we just review that really quickly? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
16th for this year.
Pick for this year.
Then
Phoenix's pick in 2026.
Okay.
And then the Magic's own pick in 2028, 2030, and a lightly protected swap in 2029.
Okay.
Which is probably top 4 protected.
Pretty
So
cool.
if they finish inside the top 4 in some Armageddon scenario, they would keep the pick and they wouldn't get the swap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a win-win for both sides because the Magic get better, which is what they need. Not point guard better, but offensively better.
Yes.
The Grizzlies get better for the future, and they also now focus on Triple J and Ja and meshing that together with KCP now with more defense, Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, draft picks, maybe more moves to come. And they move off of Bane, who took up, I guess, a lot of scoring that could have been for Ja, Triple J, who they want to focus on a lot more.
Yeah.
4 first-round picks for Bane makes the Mikal trade look a lot better, but I would probably have Desmond Bane over Mikal Bridges any day of the week.
Yeah,
so I understand that.
I think I disagree. I think it makes the Mikal trade look worse because Desmond Bane is a better player than Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Because Mikal Bridges, at his peak, is an elite role player. Desmond Bane's like a fringe all-star. He hasn't gotten the selection yet.
I think Mikal at his peak is a fringe all-star as well.
I wouldn't say that.
Bane scores on a healthy Bane almost 30 a night. 25 plus.
Like mid to low 20s.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mikal when he was in Brooklyn.
But here's the big difference, though, when it comes to Bane and Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
It says Bane is one of 3 NBA players with 800 made three-pointers, 40% three-point shooting, entering the league since 2020. It's
pretty good.
And has shot 43.2% on catch-and-shoot threes in the last 5 seasons.
Yeah.
That's what the Magic need. And that's been our biggest problem with Franz and Paolo. The outside shot is killing them because they just can't seem to knock any of it down in the playoffs. And now you have a guy that can shoot the ball, and he can create his own shot.
Yeah.
We've seen what he's been able to do without Ja and Triple J on the floor. And you combine that now with Jalen Suggs, who is a decent shooter. He's kind of spotty here and there, but he's a great defender. It's a good backcourt they got. And a lot of dialogue has been around the first-round picks and everything like that. And Brian Windhorst talked about it on First Take the other day, that it was only really supposed to cost, I think, 2 or 3, but they're offloading KCP, who is a total negative asset, total Jokic merchant.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. But I don't really think this was an overpay at all, because I'll tell you why. Notice the teams that have made 4 first-round pick trades over the years, right? The Knicks, the Nets, the Suns, the Clippers gave the Thunder all those picks, the Lakers gave the Pelicans all those picks, everything like that. That was all they had. And we'll put a tweet on the screen right now. This is what the Orlando Magic have moving forward. They still have the 25th pick in this year's draft from Denver. From Denver. They also have 46 and 58. They have 2 seconds next year. They have a first round pick in 2027. They have 2 seconds in 2028. They have the first round in 2029 that can be swapped. It's top 2 protected, not top 4. They have 2 seconds in 2030, and they have their own first round pick in 2031. So you have a lot to throw around at, and you can even use some of those picks to trade for a big man like Porzingis, maybe, if you really want to get more 3-point shooting in the lineup.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of young assets as well. They drafted really well. Bane adds a prolific scorer that's starting for them. Can take a load off of Paolo and Franz and let them do what they do best. KCP, of course, I thought had to be moved, and they did. And Cole Anthony, again, another name was thrown in the trade talks. And then the thing for Memphis is that they're all to talk about John Triple J. Actually, it's Bane that gets moved instead, and they wind up keeping the 2 guys that are in the trade talks.
Right.
And I think Bane was obviously the other easy movable piece besides John Triple J.
Yeah.
So, of course, you move on from him, cash in, and now rebuild this team around the 2 guys that you drafted.
Rebuild. I think that's the key word.
Retool. They're not rebuilding.
Yeah,
No, I think it is. I think it's a rebuild.
Rebuild would be trading Ja and Triple J, and they're not going to do that.
All right. Well,
a retool.
can we at least acknowledge that this Memphis team is definitely nowhere near being a contender, currently constructed? Can we acknowledge that?
In the West, if we see the 2 expansion teams come around and Memphis gets moved to the East,
right,
then they'll be in a much
so
better
that's
situation.
a big if. That's a big if.
That's years from now.
Right. But right now, they are clearly not even close to being a contender.
No.
Right.
Well,
So maybe this is a mini. Let's call it a mini rebuild because now they're putting their stock into the future.
That's
they got
what
draft
retooling
picks
is.
for the future instead of
You're
trying to
looking-
compete with the team that they have now. So what does that mean for Ja? Because obviously they're not in the best position to compete. What does that mean for Ja and his career right now with the Grizzlies?
Well, he's staying. I mean, you're looking at a starting 5 of Ja, KCP, Jalen Wells, Triple J, Zach Edey, Cole Anthony off the bench, Gigi Jackson off the bench, Santi Aldama.
They're gonna try and sign and trade Santi Aldama.
I was gonna say that he's
definitely off
he's
the
an
roster.
RFA, right?
Yeah.
They could sign in people. They could bring. They had the 16th overall pick in the draft. Don't they have their own first round pick too? Memphis. They have 2 picks this year.
I
in the
believe
draft?
so.
So you're gonna bring in lottery guys or one lottery close to lottery guy and one later on first pick that are probably gonna be pretty decent. So you're building that bench out. Hopefully KCP gets back to what his Denver days were defensively and offensively a little bit with them. And then Jalen Wells and Edey taking a big step in the second year, along with Triple J and Jaws development together without Bane. You have the head coach in for his first year fully. I mean, you just kind of ride with it and, see what happens.
It feels like a mini rebuild. It's just because
It's a rebuild.
Ja and JJJ, Triple J, they're the only, core parts of this team. Everyone else could get moved. Everyone else is not really that good. So it's like it feels, and they don't even have a coach. Like, I mean, they have a coach, but they don't have a coach. You know what I mean?
No, he's the full-time head coach.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like he's not an experienced head
Right,
coach.
no, right,
I understand what he's talking about.
So
Yeah.
I think right now Memphis needs to prioritize health this season because we can say what we want about Ja Morant and how great he is and all the off-the-court problems. When he's on the court, he gets hurt a lot.
he does.
And that's something that he needs to fix. That's something Triple J desperately needs to fix. Now that he doesn't have to play the 5 anymore, this should allow him to not have to bump bodies with guys that are heavier than him. And he should be able, I think Rick Carlisle's made it so evidently clear. Conditioning is so important in the NBA.
Yeah. Wow.
And if you're poorly conditioned, why do you think, do you honestly think if Jokic wasn't this conditioned, do you think he'd be this good?
Definitely not.
I think he'd struggle. I think he'd be gassed after 15 minutes on the floor.
100%.
But he could play 50 minutes and he's sprinting up and down the floor faster than everyone else. So
I wouldn't say faster. He's kind of slow, but
he outpaces you in
He
those
does outpace.
moments
He eventually,
because
yeah.
when you're tired, I don't care how fast you are.
100%.
If you're gassed out in the fourth quarter, it basically gives you nothing. And
Yeah.
Desmond Bane essentially was the easiest player to trade. He just signed his extension.
Yeah.
His value stupidly high because his talent's so insane.
Yeah.
That I think he can really thrive on this Magic team. But I
Yeah,
want to
he
know.
could.
I want to know more about the Magic from you guys
Magic.
because here we have an Eastern Conference that is as wide open as it ever was. Do you genuinely think the Magic can make a deep run with this roster?
I want to say something really quick about the Grizzlies, and then I'll go to the Magic. Really quick. I think Ja, if he wants if he wants an MVP, it's going to be within the next 2 years because this team is not the greatest. So he can show them that he can bring this team up to, compete for maybe a championship. If he can do that, if he can raise the level of these teammates, the MVP is his, right? He's that type of player. But anyways, back to the Magic. Can you repeat the question?
Do you think this Magic team can make a deep run in a weak East?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like, I don't know, Franz and Paolo are already really good players. They just needed to have like that one person that can kind of space the floor for them.
Yeah.
And they got that with Desmond Bane. I don't think people realize how important it is in an offense in this era to have a guy that can space the floor. It opens up the world for these guys, Paolo and Franz, who play more inside, right? So I think that's huge for them. I think this offense is going to be really good, and they already have a good defense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think this team can definitely they can go far in the playoffs.
I think at their best, the Magic have the second best defense in the NBA.
Wow.
And you're adding 19, 6, and 5
There you go.
a night.
There you
Desmond Bane. This season, he shot 39% from three. It was a little bit of a down year for him, but that's still really good as far as like in the Eastern Conference, teams are a lot worse. You're going to get a lot more open shots.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, who do you realistically see competing in the East next season besides Indiana? It's Indiana.
Not the Celtics.
The Celtics, who knows what's going
Halfway,
on?
maybe the Celtics.
I mean,
I think the Knicks will be in there again. I think the Pistons will be there.
I think the Cavs you have to put in there.
Cavs,
Cleveland.
I guess.
Orlando,
frauds.
Orlando, you toss in easily.
I think it's really just those 5 to 6
That's it.
because
Yeah.
there's other like I don't
Bucks.
trust Boston. I don't trust Milwaukee. I don't trust Philly. I don't even trust Toronto.
Yeah, no.
I really
Those
think
guys
it's
will be
just-
there, though.
They'll hang around, but if you're talking about making a deep run, conference finals,
Yeah.
I think the Magic are up there as in like a top 3, top 4 team in the East.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, the starting five is great. The bench is young, maybe bringing some veterans. Listen, new logo, go swinging in the first year.
Exactly.
The new identity.
And this is the time to do it when the East is open. If Indiana comes back and wins this series, they're most certainly having a hangover the next season. It's so imperative if that happens to attack and put your foot on the gas and get yourself to the NBA Finals. I think it's the most important thing for really anything. And, they had a horror show season last year with all the injuries. Literally all 3 of their best players went 1, 2, 3. They just dropped like flies.
Yeah.
And I think this team will go as far as Jalen Suggs takes them.
Yeah.
Because you saw how great this team was, even without Paolo and Franz on the floor.
Right.
Once the point guard went, everything went to crap.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
most important thing here.
Also, I'm looking forward to seeing Paulo and Franz's development as not point guards, because they're not point guards,
They're
but
not.
just guys who can play with the ball in their hands and facilitate. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if a team has multiple point guards, that team is going to be super successful. Do you know? So, like, if you look at a team like the Nuggets, I mean, you got a guy that's 7 foot running point, basically.
Right.
And then you also have Jamal Murray. Then you also have Russell Westbrook. That's a bunch of point guards on the team. That's why the team is so successful, because everyone can make a play. Everyone can pass the ball. Everyone sees the floor well. If they can take that jump, this team can do it all.
Look at the 2 finals teams.
Yeah. There you go.
That's really all you need.
Everyone can play point.
Everyone can play point guard.
Yeah.
The Pacers have 3 point guards. The Thunder at least have 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. And I think a good point guard and a center that can hold their own will win you a championship. And I do think they'll need to upgrade from Wendell Carter, but for now, he's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything drastic.
Mo Wagner's coming back too.
Yeah, but he was a bench player regardless.
But really good bench player.
Yeah, he's someone that he's going to play. He's essentially going to play the Jeff Green role on this team and come off the bench. He won't really shoot well, but he'll give you offensive boards. And in the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of teams that can't rebound.
Right.
So
A necessary role.